crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadroo.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. Well, we seem to have a copper problem now. The price of everything, not just commodities, everything is run off computer programs. Everything is derivatized, meaning that the real asset does not really trade. It doesn't trade in gold, in silver, in copper, in cryptos, in stocks, in bonds, in even foreign exchange. It's all derivative contracts trading in 100 times what the underlying asset is. I know if you've been following me for 20 years, I've been screaming the same thing. Get your assets in your own possession or you will lose them all. Hopefully now it's starting to make sense. I think in Canada, was that last year when they started confiscating people's bank accounts because they contributed to some political, the overthrow of the nation. That's what these people do. If you remember, it wasn't long ago that we had the nickel crisis on the London Metal Exchange, the LME. This was only back in March. Huge debacle. They had to cancel all these trades, complete fraud. The exchange picked the winners and losers. Now we have a new one. Chinese copper giant Meiki seeks help with liquidity issues. Firm in difficulties because of virus flare-ups. That's over, by the way. That's over, chairman says. Payment delays affecting imports, but impact limited. I know China is trying to push it again. It's part of the destruction of the economic system, but you don't need this stuff. The reality of our economic system is globalization is ending. What happens when globalization ends? All the supply chains from all the pieces and components that comprise our world today. We haven't had a war really in a really long time. And people got used to that and outsourced everything. And now to make a simple Ford F-150 truck, it takes components from all over the world. That's globalization. Having wherever it is, the best places make the parts that you use to have the cheapest product to give to your people. The reality is when globalization ends, all that stops. The reversal of globalization will destroy every single economic system on the planet right now. And of course, they'll start wars. I'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about this. One of China's most influential commodities traders is seeking government aid to shore up its finances. In the latest sign of how a sagging economy is squeezing the country's private sector, Yi Jinbi, founder and chairman of Meiki Metal International, has asked the government and financial institutions for help after liquidity issues forced his company to delay some payments for imported copper, he told Bloomberg News. BHP, the world's biggest miner, is among the suppliers that are diverting shipments away from Meiki now, according to people familiar with the matter. BHP is very synonymous with HSBC, a criminal organization run by the Queen of England. BHP is probably, I think it's the largest mining company in the world. You might wonder, how these gigantic mining companies allow silver to be rigged lower. They're in on the game. BHP is one of the biggest. He founded Meiki nearly 3 decades ago, trading copper wires, and he is one of the most well-known names in the China copper industry. The commodities sector in China has been under stress this year as a deepening property crisis and regular COVID-19 outbreak stifles demand. Private entrepreneurs have also borne the brunt of tighter credit. Meiki is suffering, quote, temporary difficulties in logistics, transportation, and product sales due to COVID flare-ups in China. That is not true. Meiki has probably got a serious hedge book and trading book. That's where they lose their money. That's where they get destroyed. He said by phone, it has delayed payments on some cargoes. Once anybody hears delayed payments, nobody's going to ship to them. Nobody ships to them. They can't deliver their metal, especially on the LME, the London Metal Exchange. He's delayed payments on some cargoes and some supplies, canceled delivery due to concerns of the company's liquidity. He said, the cash crunch has prompted BHP and Chile's Codelco, the biggest global copper producer, to pause sales to Makey. BHP in Melbourne didn't immediately respond to a comment. Now, I want to just tell you, what comes with copper? Silver. Most of the silver produced in the world is produced as a byproduct of mining copper. That's just the way the world works. They don't even count silver as a cost in their operation. They count it, they take away the price they get for their silver from the overall cost of the operation. They don't break it out. That's the amazing thing. Nobody cares about silver. Nobody loves silver. It's just shocking. The most important metal on the planet. And you have these giants, BHP, one of the largest producers of silver, not even thinking about silver, not even talking about silver. You're not allowed to talk about silver. One of the things that pissed me off from somebody that I really admired, Jim Rogers. I love Jim Rogers. He wrote this book called Hot Commodities years ago, like 20 years ago. And I read it. I'm like, what a great book. In that book, he covers everything, even gold. Not one time, and he breaks down why invest in commodities. You know, it's a hedge against inflation, all these things. With the growing economy, you need all these different types of commodities. But, and I want someone to confront Jim Rogers on this, he did not even mention silver. He mentions every single other commodity on the planet. He does not even mention silver, the number one most important commodity in the world. I want someone to ask him why. And it wasn't I just forgot about it. He had a whole chapter on gold. Not even once did he mention silver in the whole book. It is shocking. I think he was told not to mention silver. He was forced not to. I don't know what it is. But I know a lot of people, like Jean-Claude, I think, interviews Jim Rogers on occasion. Jean-Claude, get out there and ask him. In Hot Commodities, why didn't you mention silver, the number one? I mean, for all the things, the reasons to buy commodities that Jim lays out, and they're all good ones, every single one, silver's the number one reason, number one commodity according to that reason. And he doesn't even mention it. I know he's going to say, it was an oversight. Bullshit. That's bullshit. This is a book you spent probably a year writing. You covered everything and didn't even mention. It's the only commodity not mentioned in that book. Find out why, Jean-Claude. All right. Where are we now? He founded Mackey 3 decades ago, trading copper wires. He's one of the most well-known names, blah, 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 blah. Issues with Mackey could lead to a temporary dip in imports to China, but the market could find a way to rebalance via other traders. Wood Mackenzie analyst Eli Jonas said by email. Mackey claims to import about 1 million tons of copper per year. That's a huge hedge book, my friends. That is a huge hedge book that is blowing up right now. The copper doesn't even matter. The fact that they're missing deliveries doesn't matter. What matters is the rehypothecation and massive leverage they use on the LME, the London Metals Exchange. Watch them start the same thing. Watch the same thing. It's going to be the exact same thing as the nickel problem, and they're going to cancel trades, and everybody's going to be up in arms, and lawsuits are going to fly. Wait till it hits silver. Silver is the ultimate. Silver is the end game. So keep an eye on that. Where is silver now? They're pushing that baby down. Look how far down below the moving averages it is. Just ridiculous. I told you, they can push the price of silver to minus $40. They can push the price of Bitcoin to minus $40. The exchanges are fake. They are not real. 100% not real. I'm not saying you can buy any kind of silver at $0 or minus $40, but they can put it on the exchange there. It's very easy for them to do. And then they'll just shut down the exchange. Voila, they're out of their problem. The criminality is off the charts. The regulators are leading the charge to hide the criminality. That's why in the future, there's going to be no regulators. There'll be no SEC. There'll be no CFTC. These are criminal operators rigging the market and allowing the rigging of the market. Here, just in case you didn't know, the top 10 producers. Now, think about this. With the reversal of globalization, every country is going to just put their hands around their own country and say, oh my God, what do we have and what can we make? There'll be no more trading. When the banks crash, there'll be no more trading between countries. What do we have and what can we make? The number one producer of silver is and has always been Mexico. They should be the richest country on the planet right now, except they have a corrupt government and corrupt politicians and corrupt banks that have held down the price of silver, held down what Mexico is, for some reason, exporting all the silver that they produce. It's just crazy what these people do. Mexico will be stopping all exports, which is like 25% of silver right now comes from Mexico. China obviously is cutting off. They've already started to cut off exports. Peru hates America. Chile hates America. They're not going to export anything to the United States of America. Australia is controlled by the Crown. BHP controls most of Australia anyway. BHP began in the 1920s controlling Australia's. Now, Australia, I think the people in Australia are so sick of their government right now and the Queen running the show, they're ready for a revolution. I think there'll be a lot of revolutions when the banks crash. When the banks crash, even in the United States, people are hitting the streets. Who is it? Lindsey Graham just said, if they go after Trump, expect rioting in the streets. They won't be rioting in the streets. They'll be going after you, Mr. Government employee. They'll be going after the FBI agents. They'll be going after people. They're not going to just riot in the streets. They're going to be going after Congress people. Poland is almost already in a war with Russia. You can forget about that production. Russia obviously is not giving out their production. Bolivia hates America. The United States only makes 1,000 or 1 million tons. 1 million. Is that a million tons? Hold on. Let me. Yeah. I think it's 33 million ounces. Hold on a second. Yeah, 32 million ounces. Argentina, 800. So basically, what we're looking at here is every country in the world is not a fan of the USA. They've read John Perkins' book. They know exactly what's going on. They're just running this shit out until the end day. On the end day, every country is going to stop exporting to every other country. It's actually in the Road to Ruta documents. It is right here in the Road to Ruta Teacher's Guide from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. It talks about right down here. When it talks about colored flowers, they're talking about gold and silver as money. On the basis of economics, what do we know about how societies tend to react to scarcity of important resources? Is it possible to predict what changes are likely to occur? Now, this is the Fed. This is the Fed saying, I mean, literally, these questions were posed in 1981 and then reposed in 2007. We are all going to be facing this in the next couple of months. For one thing, is it possible that Ruta's rationing system will have to be modified or cease to work? Ruta's rationing system was she was giving out the money according to age, basically using the Social Security system. That's what Alan Greenspan was in charge of in the early 70s, is figuring out this Social Security problem. It makes sense if the old system fails to give out the new money to older people first who have paid in the most. That's why they haven't changed Social Security in so long. What will happen if the wealthiest person in town decides not to wait his turn and offers to pay a huge sum of money for the gold and silver? Will the gold and silver owners be allowed to sell? If not, will an illegal market develop? Will the people in the United States try to develop new ways to obtain gold and silver? Will they form corporations to explore the caves, that's in the Grand Canyon, thoroughly in hopes of finding new entrances to the gold and silver standard? Will local carpenters race to build ladders tall enough to reach a hole in the ceiling of the sunlit cave? That's the gold. Will engineers compete in developing new drilling methods to bore more holes in the ceiling to let in more sunlight, go deeper and deeper to get more and more of the gold? Will incentives be able to sell the gold garnered by these new methods be essential ingredients? Finally, should the mayor of Pebbleton, which is the president of the United States, announce that the town itself will undertake some of these projects? That's the nationalization part. Raising taxes to finance them and distribute them to all the proceeds from the venture equitably. It just goes on and on and on. There are so many questions in this teacher's guide. You got to wonder what the teachers are thinking either. I mean, the teachers are supposed to be teaching their kids. And here we have the Road to Ruta, a teacher's guide from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. I'll show you where they're the little back. You can see right here, Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Why are there so many questions? Have they not? They've had over 100 years to figure out what to do after the fiat monetary system ends. I mean, look at these questions. What distribution system does Ruta choose and why? Is it a fair system? What are other possible systems? Will the Americans accept Ruta's distribution system? What might happen if they don't? Should those who have been given gold should be allowed to sell them? How should the price be set? If gold becomes easily obtainable, what new products may be available to other customers? What existing products would become desirable? Just goes on and on and on. And the problem is, this is the teacher's guide. I think there were 65 total questions. None of them are answered by the Fed. That's up to us. These are all the questions we're going to have to deal with as the monetary system implodes. It's crazy, my friends, it's crazy. So, China is now their drones are being shot at by Taiwan. Clearly, the Pelosi visit was meant to escalate. Will we go to war? The problem with going to war over Taiwan for both the United States and China is that's where most of the real high-end computer chips are manufactured. Circuit boards, all this stuff is right between China and I think they're all the beach towns too in Taiwan. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna destroy the manufacturing capability of the world because of Pelosi's visit? Who knows? She should be arrested by now. I don't know why she isn't. U.S. stocks, bonds yield tumble after Taiwan fires at China drone, and then U.S. stocks sink after Taiwan fires at China drone again. Reuters is confirming the breaking news that the Taiwan military on Tuesday fired warning shots at a Chinese drone, which buzzed an inlet controlled by Taiwan near the Chinese coast. And then they fired at it again. This is the beginning of war. Here we go. Buckle up. If you're in the United States of America, no, you will not be left out of this war. Just be prepared for anything. I can't tell you what. I know we're being protected from nuclear war, but I don't know if we will always be protected. If we're so stupid that we can't figure out how to get rid of these criminals that lead us, then maybe we don't deserve to be here. I don't know. Is this scary? Frick yes. You should be scared. I mean, who doesn't have a nuclear bomb these days, right? Anyway, we move on. Of course, the real problem is that Europe doesn't have any energy supplies. This is the end of globalization. When you use other people's stuff, when globalization reverses, all of a sudden you don't have it. Europe has basically built their whole infrastructure around natural gas coming from Russia. Probably the dumbest thing they could have done. And now it's just going to be shut off. What do? Do you go back to coal? Yeah, they were lining up in Poland to get coal just to heat their houses. We're not even talking about the factories. We're talking about like heating your houses and having food to eat with the fertilizer made from the natural gas. Is it ugly? Absolutely. This is why Lindsey Williams said, hey, Europe's going to go first, and then 2 weeks later, the United States is going to go. Keep an eye on Europe. All right, that's what I have this morning. I might do an update later today. Lots going on. Make sure, if you're not a member already, join the private road to Ruta. We will send to your front door the Ruta Lives coin, the coolest coin ever made, each individually numbered with a hand-painted heart and a certificate of authenticity. It's really cool. That's for a 1-year subscription. Go to roadrooter.com. You get all the insider scoop. A couple of the videos I just posted. Andy Shagman, Penny Kelly, Dick Allgaier. All my friends come hang out. Jenny Moonstone every week, or almost every week. We missed last week. We're on for this week, though. Roadshow replays, uncensored stuff, the Theta page. You should all have Theta by now. Probably have your Veritasium lottery ticket, too, because at the end of the day, I think Cliff's data is correct that Veritasium will be worth more than Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. And that's it. This is Bix Weir, roadrooter.com. Bye.